Peace and blessings, beautiful souls, magnificent beings. Allow me to allow this young man, Josh Williams, a politician, a Republican out of Ohio, to cook for a minute, and then I'll come right back. We're dealing with DEI.
Kind of realize, hold on, I think I lean more right than left. But naturally, as you know, young black men, we were programmed to think we have to lean left or we're not black. How do you think they got it to the point where if you don't agree with the left, that they will question your blackness and call you different names and things like that?
He makes a powerful statement. If you don't identify as a Democrat, as a black person, somehow you are not black. Who determines what's black? Let's get back into it.
Well, see, it started with a belief that they own us. And I'll pause and let that bake for a little bit. I mean, literally, the same party used to own us.
Right? And we're talking about the Democratic Party. And this is a black Republican. But he's going to break it down nice and smooth. Allow him to cook.
Right? It was the Southern Democrats that owned our bodies in chattel slavery. And then afterwards, they were the one that put in the black codes and Jim Crow back in the South. And it got to a point where they couldn't own our bodies anymore, and they figured out a way to own our minds. And that was in the 1960s and 70s, post-civil rights action, where you saw Herbert Hoover, FBI, they believed the Black empowerment movement was a national security crisis. And the federal government took affirmative steps to dissolve the base of the Black Power movement, which was a two-parent household.
And this is why I say that, unlike many of the individuals that are Republican, like himself, who I like these young guys who I like, they missed the boat when it comes to reparations. Reparations is not just a slavery thing, Jim Crowism, and the destruction of self-help organizations intentionally by this government that destroyed movements that were doing things that benefited the black community economically on many fronts. This is why reparation is due. However, the likelihood of that happening is almost zero. So I don't sweat that.
That had disposable income and no college degrees. And they took affirmative steps to do that, weaponizing the welfare system, getting the man out of the household, deindustrializing our inner city schools so you couldn't graduate with certificates for plumbing or electrician like you could before, making it where you had to go to college to be successful. These were concerted efforts to break up our household so we wouldn't have a strong voting base and get us hooked on public assistance. And now, since the 1970s, we've shifted to where the majority of black people vote Democrat. And now, in modern politics, they believe our votes are bought and paid for, that they don't have to answer to us anymore. I mean, you heard Joe Biden when he was running. What did he say? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah.
Right? He said these people gonna have y'all put back in chains. Right? He played on that racial card in order to get our vote. They don't believe our vote is bought and paid. They believe our vote is bought and paid for. And they learned a lesson in 2024. They saw that if just a small margin of the black community shifts their vote, they lose elections. Some of them are wising up now and trying to come home and say, well, what can I do for you now? But they got a history of using us and putting in policies that are left-leaning and LGBTQ guided. But we don't realize how powerful our voices are, man. Like, the black vote in America can be the deciding vote in almost every national election.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm starting to notice that. People were saying that we had a big impact during the election. They were like, man, like, if
it's a powerful statement. What we want to do is break down a little bit. And he talks about DEI and why he is opposed to DEI. Not that he's opposed to diversity, but the equality of outcome is not a situation that a capitalistic society could ever put into play and remain a capitalistic society, unless you are with socialism and those types of political structures within a nation. Then of course you don't want equality of outcome. I don't want equality of outcome. I want equality of opportunity. And that is as how far that should go. He speaks a little bit earlier about how anytime the government is forcing a diversity onto corporations, onto businesses, onto any individual, the outcomes are not good. He also speaks about how the facts are we have become the face of DEI, but we did not benefit from DEI the most. The statistics show that white women benefited from DEI. He also goes on to talk about how powerful the white liberals have played on black emotion in order to keep blacks subjugated into a given or begging state as far as their career is concerned when it comes to politics. If and the black politicians who are Democrat and liberal are doing the same thing. As long as they can keep you impoverished and keep you emotional, they can keep you voting for the Democratic Party that says that they fight for you, which in actuality they have not fought for you. And this is another powerful thing that we must understand. Let's allow him to cook again.
If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have voted for Trump or just seen the stuff that you guys saw that we brought up on the channel to just show them that this is the stuff that they're doing, and we need to probably vote on the other side this time.
Definitely.
Yeah, man, you're reaffirming like all the stuff that we watch and we know, man. You're doing God's work, truly, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
facts,
are. You
definitely.
are. It seems like every time we talk to somebody who we really like look up to, like you, Byron Donalds, Wesley Hunt, Vivek Ramaswamy, people like that, it just seems like we relate more on our core values and stuff. And like the people that they prop in front of black people on TV, like Van Jones,
Al Sharpton,
people like that. It's like
Joy Reid.
And then these are the people that are questioning your blackness, but it's like, I'm sorry to say it, but these are like feminine men a lot of the time. So it seems like more of the masculine men seem to vote right. I'm sorry. Like, do you see what I'm saying with that?
Yeah. So it seems they like to put up these classical black Democrats that was raised in the 60s and 70s and 80s in the Democrat Party, right? Where we were making that transition over to the Democrat Party for the majority of black people. But go ahead and put a young black Democrat on there, and all you're going to do is hear that modern left-leaning push towards LGBTQ issues, towards high taxes on everybody, towards this idea of socialism, that you don't need to work hard. The government should provide everything for you. It isn't genuine.
Yeah.
Right. Those older Democrats are bought and paid for now. I mean, I will never listen to Al Sharpton. I know his history. I know how he sold us out. I know he was a snitch back in the day. That man can't say a word to me and get my ear.
For real.
But some of these modern Democrats, man, all they do is play on emotion.
Yeah.
There's no facts to anything they say. And, give me facts over feelings any day. Give me the
Facts over feelings. That's a beautiful terminology. That's a beautiful mindset to work from. Again, we have been emotionalized for the most part. I'm speaking particularly and specifically about black people, but most of Americans in general, regardless of their ethnicity and or race, everybody has been hyper emotionalized, and this is done to the benefit of the politicians who are able to manipulate your emotions, to pull on your emotional strings to get you to side with a perspective, a concept that they want you to lean into without giving you factual based information and not giving you a solid plan to work from. Only ideas, only fear mongering. And this is why we must become a little wiser. And let me try to find where he speaks on the white liberals and what they have been able to
worth the same
accomplish.
amount, and they almost had identical diversity stats between the two schools, but the reading proficiency was drastically different. And what I will argue is you have to understand, liberals do not have our best interests at heart. When I'm talking us, I mean black people. They do not have our best interests at heart, because why would they ever help us dig ourselves out of poverty when they know the studies show that the higher you climb socioeconomically, the higher you climb on a socioeconomic ladder, the less you will vote based off of DEI, keep maintaining welfare, maintaining SNAP benefits. You start voting based off of what my taxes are, how good is the school district, how, what my property values are like. You start voting based on an economic basis. And
This is absolutely true. Again, I do feel as if we don't have enough jobs to employ all the citizens who are able to be employed, then these benefits need to be in place, especially for those who are disabled, etc. However, again, like you said, the Democrats and the liberals, the white liberals, have used the black liberals in politics in order to keep blacks stuck in the victim mentality, always blaming the system, because they benefit from the fact that as long as these individuals are impoverished, they will continue to vote for the government to give them handouts because they have been made victims. And this is not a good thing. Again, some of these programs are absolutely necessary. And if you don't have enough jobs in America in order to employ all Americans, then the government must step in and assist those who cannot be employed because the jobs are not here. And this is why I agree with Trump really pushing to bring jobs back to America. In the 1990s, in the 2000s, Bill Clinton and all those individuals with NAFTA really pushed out many of these jobs that were in the inner cities, hollowing out the inner cities, making those inner cities a place where jobs were hard to come by, jobs were lost, people lost their jobs, lost their way of life, lost their ability to have a good life. And this is when poverty, crime, and all the other ills that comes with the lack of individuals' ability to gain meaningful employment came about. And they really restructured the actual job base for America, turning it into a fast food type of economy, hollowing out the manufacturing, which is absolutely necessary for the survival of any nation. And this is why I agree with Trump's tariffs. This is why I understand that, yeah, it may be difficult in the beginning for a lot of people because of the higher rates that will be, but in the long term, it's going to be better because you're bringing back the basic jobs that helps to sustain a nation, and you'll be able to employ many individuals. And this is why I agree with many of those things. Again, the black liberals, the white liberals, they act as if they have your best interest in heart, but in reality, they're getting rich off your emotional pain. And I'm pretty sure Republicans are doing the same thing with some of those more when in terms of the white individuals who are not liberal, who are conservative, that may be poor. A lot of Republicans have played on their emotional strings in order to get things done. But at the end of the day, Trump is not really what you would say is a typical Republican. Again, I'm not a Republican, would never be a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, would never be a Democrat. But I understand why individuals have to run in either one of these parties in order to get elected, because being independent and trying to get elected in this system is almost impossible. So again, I understand if you're choosing and leaning towards center right, then you can line yourself up with the Republican agenda and run for politics, but not be what is considered one of these historical Republicans from the 1960s on. But at the end of the day, the Democratic Party is and was the party of slavery, is the party of the welfare state, is the party of victimization, is the party that uses black faces in order to push agendas for others, such as white liberal women, LGBTQ, etc. Look at the record, look at the facts. It speaks for itself. Peace.